And so let's look at game theory analysis, right? The players, the rules, and incentives. We know who the players are. The players are doing stupid things. The rules we know, okay? But incentives is something that we have to think about. Why are they behaving like this? And the answer is because they're not interested in sex or procreation. What they're interested in is status. Okay, that's the game they're playing, status. I don't want to marry someone to have children. I want to marry someone so I can take a picture of her and post it on Instagram so I can get a lot of likes. I want to marry someone so I can walk with her in the mall and all the guys are jealous. I want to marry someone who I can brag about. Okay? It's a game about status, not a game about sex or procreation. You understand? People are not being rational here. People are trying to maximize their status in life. And that's why everyone's behaving like this. She may be the youngest woman in the world, but she's still like, you know what? It's still my choice whether or not to have kids. And having kids is a pain in the ass. So if I'm going to make the sacrifice, this guy better be good looking. Okay? Or this guy better be rich. Otherwise, why would I want to have kids? Okay? So this is why people behave the way they do. If you think about this way, what you recognize is that people are rational. But to understand why they're rational, you have to figure out what the game is. Okay? But then this leads to us to a question, which is, okay, well clearly this is wrong because if we behave like this throughout human history, we wouldn't be here today. Okay? How is it that we have this game today and we're gonna die, but we must have come from somewhere. We've been around for like a long time. So how is it that humans have survived for so long doing these stupid things? And the answer is because the game changes over time according to the superstructure of society. Okay, the superstructure. The superstructure is what determines the nature of the game. Superstructure, just think about the big picture, right? How many people are there? Is society wealthy or poor? Are there enemies to this society? Okay, this is the superstructure, the big picture, demographics, economics, culture, politics, religion. And these things together is what determines the nature of the game. All right, so let's look at 3 examples of superstructure. All right. Example 1 is you have a low population society. Okay, low population is like maybe 200 people, okay? A village, basically. They are poor and low technology. Low technology means they don't have access to clean water. They don't know what hygiene is. They don't understand what germs are. So it's very easy for a woman to die in childbirth. Okay? And low competition. Low competition just means that there are no competing villages against them. Okay? So that's one kind of superstructure. The early superstructure of human society, okay? Then you have maybe growing population. Okay? So we're talking like maybe 10,000 people, 20,000 people. They are now growing in wealth, growing wealth. They have some technology, meaning they have access to clean water, and they have high competition. Okay? Meaning that they're competing against different villages and societies around them. Okay, that's another superstructure. And the third superstructure is overpopulation, okay, which is the world we live in today, okay? Where in China you have 1 billion people. That's a lot of people. Too much wealth, okay? But with wealth you have inequality, right? And then you have high technology. This high technology means that every woman who gives birth will not die. And every child born will live, okay? And then you have something called an equilibrium. Equilibrium just means that, yeah, there's competition, but they're not going to go to war against each other. The world is basically peaceful. Okay? And according to superstructure, the game is going to change. So let's go back to the game. Okay, we have 10 people. In a low population, poor society, guess what? They're not going to date. What they're going to do is they might get married, but they're going to have sex with each other. Why? Because as a woman, the only way to ensure that your child survives is if all the men in the village want to protect and nurture the child. And they will do that if they believe that the child could be theirs, okay? So the woman will maybe have a husband, but the woman will also choose to sleep with other men to disguise paternity. Does it make sense? So there's no dating, there's just lots and lots of sex in order to maintain social cohesion, okay? Now, in a superstructure number 2, there's no dating either. Why? Because this society is in competition with other societies, and they need to have as many children as possible. So what the solution here is to have arranged marriages. Arranged marriages. Where, you know, who cares who you marry? Just have lots and lots of kids, okay? There's no dating either. Just have lots and lots of kids. You marry who your parents tell you to marry. You marry someone that you know. You marry your childhood best friend. Who cares, okay? But you marry someone, you have lots and lots of kids. Okay? That's superstructure number 2. Superstructure number 3 is the one we live in. And here, you have a dating game. Right? Because why? Because the odds of you obtaining status is really, really low, okay? And the only way that you can change your status is by marrying up. And that's why you have a dating game. A dating game is an opportunity for you to find someone better than your social demographic circumstance can suggest. Okay? And that's why you have low, decreasing fertility rate. Okay? Where over time, because of the dating game, society will collapse. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So now you're the government. And around the world, women who are wealthy, well-educated, are refusing to have children, especially in East Asia. Right now, the fertility rate in China is about 1. Okay? About 1. The replacement rate that you need is a 2.1. So just to maintain your current population levels, every woman in China needs to give birth to at least 2 kids. But right now, on average, women are choosing to have 1 kid only in China. And the worst thing is that this trend is increasing. So 5 years ago, the fertility rate was maybe 1.7. Now it's 1. Okay, so the trend is very, very negative. Okay? So governments all around the world are trying to figure out what to do. How do you convince women to have more kids? And what we've discovered is it's impossible. We can pay you more money, like they do in South Korea. Guess what? It doesn't work. Because people don't want money, they want status. And status is a zero-sum game. Okay? Money is infinite, but status, power, is a zero-sum game. So we have overpopulation, we have too many people competing for too few status positions, you have decreasing fertility rates. And there's nothing you can do about it. The moment you give women choice, they choose to improve their lives by marrying someone better. Okay? Not all, but most. And so over time, what happens is your society collapses. If you look at history, the best indicator that a society is about to collapse is if the women who are wealthy and well-educated, if they refuse to have children. This is what happened to the Romans who collapsed. This is what happened to many empires. This is what's happening around the world today, in America, in Britain, in Europe, in China. Okay? And this tells us that society is collapsing. So in other words, what this really is, okay, these superstructures, it tells us the life cycle of a civilization, right? So this is when civilization is young, then it matures, it grows, and then it collapses. Okay? And if you look at history, all civilizations go through this process of birth, maturation, and then collapse. And there's no way around it. So the power of game theory is that just by studying one aspect, okay, if I just study this game, all right, I figure out who the players are, the rules, and the incentives, I can figure out what the superstructure of the civilization is, okay? And then once I have these two, I can now figure out where it came from and where it's going. Okay? That's what I want to teach you in this class. How to analyze a situation so you understand the players, the rules and incentives, which will give you insight into the superstructure so that you can figure out where it came from, and then you can also predict where it's going. All right? So, but you can also look at the superstructure and figure out what the game is being played. Okay, so this is one example, but throughout the semester we'll be doing many different examples of game theory. Is this clear so far? Are there any questions? Any comments, any questions before I move on? All right. All right. All right, so let's just look at some basic facts. Okay. All right, this is a map of the world, okay? As you can see, okay, so the color scheme is this. The red is where the population, the society has an above replacement fertility rate, okay, so above 2.1. If it's dark red, like here in the middle of Africa, it's 6 to 7, or 6 above, okay? And why is it that the case? Because Africa is in a situation where it's a growing society with middling tech, so a lot of people die, lots of competition, so to survive, families have to give birth to a lot of kids, okay? They have no choice in the matter. But then you move to the rest of the world, okay? So this is North America, Europe, and East Asia, the 3 wealthiest parts of the world. And guess what? The fertility rate is collapsing because now we've entered the end game where it is overpopulation, too much wealth, so too much inequality. And so women are forced to pick the best possible mate or not have children at all. All right? And